Welcome, everyone, to the session on AI again. I feel like all day long you probably have a lot of information coming at you about not only AI, but what AI can bring with it. I got a chance to talk to somebody in the hallway about space. And so when you think about robotics, humans, I think AI is going to touch every part of our life. I'm Asha Saxena. I am a professor at Columbia University, a tech entrepreneur for 30 years, and I've written 3 books. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about not just technology, but how artificial intelligence is going to change our world. We are in the world of great acceleration. When you think about agricultural revolution, it took centuries. Industrial revolution took decades. But AI is truly changing our world at a very fast pace. And recent Harvard's report came out a couple of weeks back, and it spoke about state of market, what's happening in the market with technology like AI. And it spoke about organization like DocuSign took 10 years to hit 100 million. But Cursor that came out took only 2 years, less than 2 years to hit $100 million in revenue. So the growth has been tremendous in technology companies, and especially, and we see this founder stage and we see the startup labs here. Every technology needs to have AI to get funding because investors are now know that having AI can only accelerate the progress in the companies. But really, when you think about the companies who are showing this kind of growth, what are they really focusing on? What are they really doing? And some of the example in the report talks about AI as a force multiplier. It talks about technology like Harvey that lets lawyers do the work as a lawyer. I was on a panel early on with attorneys, and they asked, is this profession going to be eliminated? Because now the technology can act like a lawyer. And the attorneys said that we are so happy that we don't have to worry about the manual work. And so they can focus on solving and being creative and solving the cases instead of worrying about all the paperwork. And same thing, Abridge organization launched technology for healthcare workers, doctors, nurses. And so what they want to do is have the doctors focus on solving the problem which they are meant to solve instead of worrying about scribing. The biggest problem doctors and nurses are facing is all the paperwork they have to do. So really think about AI as an enabler to help you become a better professional. I saw this movie, and I think a lot of us saw Minority Report, where Tom Cruise is walking and the ads are getting customized for him. Fast forward, when you really look at Iron Man came out, and Iron Man had its own Jarvis who would talk about what the day is going to look like. And I feel like we are now in the stage where we all have our own Jarvis, which can actually go into our calendar and tell us what our important meetings are. Or before a meeting, actually pull all our contacts from last 12 months and be able to tell us how to be in a meeting, have a better research. And then this movie, I don't know how many of you saw that or still remember the movie Her, which I think was really impactful for me when I saw. And in the movie, the protagonist actually builds a relationship with the operating system. The operating system actually is having connection with the protagonist and telling the protagonist about, in fact, how the relationship with the mother, the relationship or the events during the day. And now we are in this era where AI is not just a tool. I spend a lot of time with public company, and I run AI steering board committee meetings. And what I hear a lot of times from these CEOs is that AI is a resource. And it's a resource that is bought by the organization to help their people, their professionals, accelerate in their performances. If it's efficiency or growth, really thinking about AI in the new world as an exponential fluid technology that can help you get ahead. Really thinking about AI as an operating model. How many of you heard about AI first organization? But now we are entering the era very fast about AI native organization. The AI native organizations have AI very seamlessly. So really think about how you're using AI within your organization to create the seamless applications. When the McKinsey report came out and it said the state of AI, the state of AI is where organizations are right now implementing AI, but they're not seeing the success, the growth, the scale. So they're still stuck in the POC era. And why is that? So this whole thought, which actually I've been thinking about for the last 5 years, is technology and business has always struggled communicating with each other. Really thinking about the agency gap. Like, how do we use this technology, this powerful technology, which is the silent partner for us? This powerful technology, which we all have the access, but how do we truly take advantage of that instead of sitting in the passenger position? How do we move up to the pilot position? Really thinking about how can we take control of this technology. And I love these examples, which I really wanted to bring it to you today. Nike had this ad where they took Serena Williams, and I don't know how many of you saw that. Serena Williams, the younger Serena Williams, took all the data points when she was younger and then looked at the Serena Williams when she was older. And they had a match. And the whole campaign was about never stop evolving. How beautiful is that? Never stop evolving. And that's what Nike stands for. And so Nike took AI as a tool, but became creative to be able to say, how do I show up in the world where there is a lot of consumer product goods? How do I show up in this market and stand out? So they used AI to be creative. As humans was in the seat of a pilot instead of a passenger. Another really great, I don't know how many of you saw this ad, Virgin Voyages had a contract with Jennifer Lopez, and they had her digital twin. And the beauty was, the funny part was that they actually declared in the ad that the tech guy at the back office is actually having the voice, acting as J-Lo, and it just was a fun ad. And so after that ad was released, the engagement grew over 300% with their consumer, much higher sales. And what they did, they had their customer engage with the ad, and they could put little notes that J-Lo could actually invite your family members to come to the voyage with them. So what is the Centaur approach? The Centaur approach is that when 1 + 1 is greater than 2, when human and machines can come together to create the super intelligence. We worry about, is AI going to replace the humans? Or is the AI going to replace these employees? Which is true, right? We worry about that, which is very true, because programmers, which would take 3 months to code, now can code in 6 days. So the same kind of coding can be done faster. My son is a computer science engineer and works for Coinbase, and I'm talking to him, super solid programmer, engineer, software engineer, but they have Claude Code Assist. They use Code Assist, and they're not ashamed because they're getting to get their code out faster. We are not getting stuck in that error. If you guys remember, if any of you were in technical field, that we would get stuck in the format error. Is it a comma or a semicolon? What did we do? And you spend hours and hours just trying to fix the code. So I think having this tool as your partner and be able to use it. I work with a lot of large organizations. The CIOs would be worried about adoption. They worry that people are worried about using the tools because they feel that they'll be obsolete. But it's truly about the mind shift. It is about the mind shift of the professionals that can actually create that shift for the organization. So really thinking about that, how do we really use this tool to empower the organization? And listen, we are in the era where we're going to have agents, co-workers who are going to be working with us. So when you talk about the mind shift, over the fear comes from when you don't have the tool. I always say it's about the education. It's about, are you educating your population? Are you educating your organization to create that shift? But do they have the blueprint? Do you create that trust for your organization to create that safety that they can truly believe that they are going along with AI and not going to be left behind? And so I landed up writing the book called The AI Factor, which came out in 2023, really. And people would ask me, oh, you wrote the book. Technology is changing so fast. Is the book going to be obsolete? And I say, no, because it talks about the framework. I talk about the important 4-step you need to move on and be able to deliver the quality and create that adoption and implementation and scale that you need with the organization of AI. So I talk about 4-step: assess, ready, prioritize, because everybody wants AI in organizations. So how do you prioritize that you get the maximum value? Even though the data might not be perfect, how do you continue on that journey? That the journey is really important. And then you measure. If you can't measure, if you don't show the value, the AI is not going to be successful. The first project that gets defunded are the projects that are not aligned to the organization goals. So really thinking about, what am I prioritizing and how do I measure? So I'm going to talk a little bit about, so the book in next 8 minutes are the four frameworks. The first step is about assessing your business. And I talk about power quadrant in the book. Second is the data readiness. Is your data ready to be able to implement? Number 3 is prioritization. Very, very important, because you could have a lot of projects. Which project is going to give you the value? Really important, which project is going to give you the value? And number 4 is the measure. Are you going to measure and bring the value to the organization to be able to show? And I work, as I said, I work with organization, and the head of ITs would say, but technology, you can't quantify all the time. Technology is giving you value, but we can't measure it. And I always say, you can measure if you start from what the value is. Start the project with the value. Internally in my organization, I had my tech leader came to me and said, you want CRM automation? We'll build the agents. But didn't really start by asking the question, what is the value you're going to get? Instead of doing the 10 projects, you want CRM automation, but Asha, what is it going to get for you? If I automate, what is the value you're going to get, and is that the right project? And I think that's the question 1. Are you taking the right projects to implement for AI? Number 1, power quadrant. Very important to know where you are today. It's your journey. Are you starting? Are you an optimizer? Creating the cost cutting, creating efficiency? Are you the innovator? You want to use technology like AI to innovate. Are you an extender? You want to get your market capture. You want to understand what the market is, what the consumer wants. Are you want to use AI to be the multiplier? Really think about, you want to break the business model. How many times we say, this process, doesn't work, or it's good enough, but we want to break our own business model before another organization comes or another product comes to break our business model. Reinvention, we used to say 7 years you can reinvent, shortened to 3 years. Now, every 3 to 6 months you should be looking at, what are you doing? Is it the right thing or not? Number 2, data readiness. Do you have the right data? It's a journey. It's never going to be, you're never going to get there. So it's an iterative methodology. Having a clear objective. It's really, really important to know, is my senior executive engaged or not? Do you understand what your operational efficiency is, financial impact, or and you are strategically aligned to the bigger goal? Then comes data governance. Data governance is all about data structures, having the right structure, the quality, trust in the data, privacy, security. And then comes the enterprise engagement, education, culture, and so on. And only then you can transform the organization. We all talk about transformation, but transformation only happens when you can create something that is scalable, repeatable, something that is adaptable, easy to adapt, right? It's all about making sure it's invisible for the user, so there's not a long learning curve. So data readiness is number 2. Number 3 is prioritization. Always be in the zone, not a random act of AI. It's not that it's on my wish list, so I'm going to continue building applications for you, but what will give you the most value? is really, really important. I talk about being in the power zone. What is the biggest problem you're trying to solve? But you have to ask value. Are you getting the value out of that problem that you're solving? And then do you have the data that you can trust? But a lot of times when I'm doing these keynotes, people would ask me, if I don't have the right data, is that okay? And I say, if you don't have the right data, it's okay because you need to start the journey. Look at the use cases that might not need all the data. Start small and create the small wins. Really important. And then comes strategic alignment. Please, this slide is the most important slide because you really need to make sure you're solving the CEO's problem. If you're not solving the top 3 problems, what projects get defunded? Which are hobby projects. If it's a hobby project, you think it's really fun, it's a new technology, I want to play with it. What do all engineers do? We love our technology. So we find a new technology, want to get our hands dirty, but if it's not solving the problem, that project will get defunded. And it's all about resources, right? So 70-20-10 rule, 70% of the times organizations are investing in optimizing. They want to cut cost. Then 20% goes into extender, innovator projects, and all that savings that you do funds your multiplier. Now you can break your business rule. Now you can reinvent yourself and be able to create something interesting. Measure is about building a flywheel. Anything that you build, if you can't scale, it won't last for too long. So really thinking about AI is a journey. AI is about flywheel, building something which is iterative. It learns by itself, right? Reinforcement technology. And then you also want to make sure that you're building something, a model that can actually scale. It can go to different business functions. So really thinking about how do you build the AI flywheel and human in the loop. And we hear about human in the loop, but it truly is because same technology, you'll get 2 very different results. I mentioned I teach at Columbia University in New York, and my students will ask me, and they'll say, I teach AI at Columbia. So I say, you have to use technology. You have to use AI tools. But you have to use 3 to 5 different tools. And give me analysis. And tell me which tool worked and why. And why did you agree with it? And how many layers did you go? And did you trust? Or did you verify and trust? So those are important questions because we have to challenge our brain and be more critical thinkers now. This is just a tool. This is a resource. How you use that resource is upon you. So really thinking about, we are in control. We cannot give the control to AI. We still need to be in control to be able to. And listen, that led me to what? That led me to my 3rd book, The Digital Human Advantage. I really thought really hard about, we are going to enter this era where we're going to have coworkers. We're going to have Amy, who would be our HR recruiter, but we might have John, who's an AI agent, who's coming and telling us about our benefit, right? So our benefit resource coming from an agent. So how do we live in this world, which is, coexisting with our AI peers? And I want to leave you with something really important. I want to leave you with living in this world where you're going to be living with AI, and the most important skill is about having curiosity. Is the problems you solve. As I said, people will ask me as an AI strategist, people will come to me and say, Asha, you speak all around the world. What should we tell our kids? What should they be thinking about? What's the next job? Because these jobs, which traditional jobs are going to be gone, what are the new jobs that are going to come? And I always say, we are entering a very exciting world where we need to focus on the problem we solve. So what problem are you solving? Teach the kids early on to solve interesting problems. And now you have resources like AI that can help you solve those problems. With that, I want to leave you on this amazing era we all are living in. Take advantage of it. This is our opportunity to continue building, inventing, reinventing ourselves, be a lifelong learner, and continue enjoy this era we are in. Thank you so much.